Well, I just filmed this whole video and then the card got corrupted, so I'm going to do this as quick as I possibly can without missing out on any bits. So let's start with just the really basic stuff that I have made for the month. Starting with Redesign the High Street. I've made these ones. As you can see, I've been putting a little bit more focus on motion design. I'm quite happy with the redesigns I've done lately, and yeah, I've been toying about with After Effects a little bit more, and that's because I took a course through LinkedIn Learning, another one. And yeah, I also made a fully animated version of my This Week I, and I'll just leave that running on the side so you can look at it. But I'm dead chuffed with how it came out, and I think it's really quite good. I've also done just one more collage. So yeah, I've been really slacking quite a bit this month. But yeah, I did one more collage this week, and that is for Vienna. I actually did two, but they're both Vienna. Anyway, that's about that for the basic stuff, and then let's move on to some client work. I did another job for GreenFox Energy. This time they came to me asking for a little illustration of their fox character, getting ready for Revs Fest. So Revs Fest is like a local festival run by the rugby club, just to fundraise. And GreenFox are the main sponsor of the event, or I think the event's been now. But yeah, I basically just gave their character a wee makeover, and here he is. How fun is that? I can't believe you get paid to make cool stuff like this. It's so cool. Such a cool career choice. But yeah, and then I also created some preliminary logos for the Doggy Tub. So here's a simple icon and then a more developed one. They still need some colour. There's still a lot of work to be put into that, and I also need to build them a website. So I'll be busy. But yeah, that's that. Let's move on. Job applications. I have gone absolutely crazy this month. I've done more job applications in the last month than the 4 months before it. I've been going ham, and it is working because I had an interview with a sort of social media creative agency based in London, and that was a couple of weeks ago. I'm yet to hear back, but they said I'd find out by this Friday, so I've got a couple of days. And then I also had another interview with a matcha company. A pretty big one of the biggest in the UK, and that went really well, and I immediately got given the stage 2 task, which was to design a sort of PR box for their upcoming product. I didn't sign any NDAs or anything, so I'm going to show you. I'll blur their logo out and I'll blur the product out, but I think if you know the brand, you'll be able to tell from just the style. But yeah, they gave me a brief. The idea was to promote their product, but they wanted to focus on "Here comes the diva," or "The diva has arrived," I think was the actual sort of marketing gimmick. And they asked me how I would play on that to create a really fun design for a PR box, and what sort of novelty item would I include. So I thought diva, red carpet, all done up, big flashing camera lights, you know. And that's what I made, basically. I created this box that when you open it up, the lid acts as a background, and you've got this catwalk or green carpet, which relates to their brand, with a stage that you can put the matchup on and have it basically be a photo shoot opportunity for the influencers. I think it's quite clever, and for the novelty item I settled on nail paint, whether it's green or purple, whatever doesn't really matter. I just thought nail paint, that's so diva, you know, the little emoji. And yeah, it's also like a really fun item and a long-lasting one, you know. The people that receive these PR boxes, they can use that nail paint for months if they're like me, and it keeps the brand in mind. It's also really easy to source for the company. It's cheap. You can take the brand labels off it and just have your little coloured nail paint in there, quite simple. And it's small. So yeah, that was that, and I'll find out probably this week or next week whether I get to the final stage. But I'm feeling pretty good, and I got a lot of good feedback, both from that interview and the one before it. So yeah, I'm feeling somewhat confident that I'm going to get a job at some point fairly soon, hopefully. If I keep up these job applications, it's like a matter of time. It's just a numbers game at this point. But yeah, that's been good. That's been what I've sort of focused on lately. And then on that same sort of note, I've been doing the Start, which, to remind you, is a sort of competition brief which results in a 1-year internship, and you get a brand, an audience, and a topic. So it's randomly generated. There's like 500 combinations, but I got Joe Malone tackles mental health while targeting a career-driven millennial. And I thought long and hard about how that could work and what would be the most interesting option. And I thought, well, a career-driven millennial, they're always on the move, you know, they've got a commute. And where do they often go through? Well, subway stations. And I'm lucky enough to live close to Glasgow, so I thought Glasgow subway, that works quite nicely. And the people judging it, they're based in London, so they use the underground as well. And the idea was Joe Malone would set up these pop-up sort of spas at the entrances to the Glasgow subway stations, and it acts as a breath between moments. That's the tagline, quite classy, but it also alludes to the sort of breathe in the scents and also take a chill pill. So the whole idea is that these career-driven millennials are always commuting, but while they're on that commute, or when they're coming home and they step into the station, or they're coming out of the station, there's this little chill spot, a spa, a scent station, as I've called the project, where they can sit, they can relax. They'll have diffusers giving off Joe Malone scents, just to mellow them out and clear all the stress, maybe the depression, you know, all these problems going on from work, and you can forget about it while you're in that moment. And yeah, I've not got any visuals to show you. I've got a week to create them, but that's my sole focus for the next week. And as part of that, I have been trying out some photogrammetry, like literally today. So I downloaded Polycam, I got the 7-day free trial, and I've went out to a little corner in my town and done a Gaussian splat, where basically you just walk around with your camera open, and the app took 150 odd photos and then compiles them into a 3D model. And it worked pretty well. I think I'm planning on scanning St. Enoch station tomorrow. I'm going quite early, so it's hopefully fairly quiet. It's also meant to be wet, which should help. I mean, it's going to be a pretty miserable scan, but there won't be any people blocking my view. So yeah, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I think I'll need to take more than 150 photos. I think I'll target like 500 sort of photos, hopefully. But it's promising, and that way I can take my 3D model, export it, put it in Blender, and I can build this Joe Malone scent station as a 3D model, put it in the environment and have it all meshed together and create a little mock-up that way, which is a lot more interesting and probably a lot more realistic looking than if I were to try and Photoshop it all, because that's what I tried to do with Anima, my university project from last year, and they're pretty scrappy looking mock-ups, the Photoshop ones, I'm not gonna lie. Part of that's because I didn't give myself enough time. I crammed that project in at the end of uni, but again, I've only got a week to do this project, so it would be the same problem. So hopefully this 3D solution fixes it. 10 minutes, okay, that's not bad. I think that covers everything I've created this month. Yeah, pretty sure. So let's move on to media of the month. And starting us off with film. I've only seen one film this month, so my recommendation is the Thunderbolts, the Marvel movie. But actually pleasantly surprised. It really does feel like a big resurgence from the Marvel movies. I wasn't expecting such a heavy focus on mental health and that whole allegory that they set up. It was really interesting, some really good fight scenes, some good comedy. All the actors are fantastic. I mean, Florence Pugh is a star in the making, and Sebastian Stan has just so much aura. So much aura. That's all I can say. But yeah, I would recommend going and seeing it. Forgive me, I need a little sip of my drink. Pink Red Bull slaps, by the way. Okay, now on to TV. And this one's very easy. I have not watched a single TV show this month. I've been just too busy with other things. But I do want to watch Andor. So hopefully I can get that in before I create the short form version of Media of the Month. But yeah, let's move on. Then I did YouTube. I'm actually going to recommend a Nebula thing. So Nebula is another online streaming service. It's basically YouTube, but you've got to pay. But it's only 30 quid a year. It's really worth the money. You get some really good creators on there. It's all very targeted content, no slop. And one of my favorite YouTubers has an exclusive documentary on Nebula, and they are called Bobby Broccoli, and they're very well known for sort of scientific fraud documentaries. And they do so much research, so professional. They're on YouTube, so go watch. If you don't have Nebula, just go watch any of their videos already. But the Nebula documentary is called 17 Pages, and I can't say too much without spoiling it, but it basically follows a fraud investigation that involves a Nobel Prize laureate in the early 90s. But there's a bit of a twist, and it's a really great look at how bias is formed, and that's your own personal bias. So there's, how do I do this without spoiling it? Bobby Broccoli uses a method that challenges your bias based on in what order you take in the information. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's so good, it's so clever, and you need to go watch it if you haven't had one. Okay, and then finally that leaves music. And my recommendation is called Who Knows Where the Time Goes by Fairport Convention. I don't really have much to say. It's an old English folk band from the 60s, I think. And it's just a really lovely song, but what makes it interesting to me is how I discovered it. I went for a coffee at my normal place. I sat at my normal bench, just chilling, people watching, and this old guy dressed in full like 70s hippie counterculture gear, like all the badges, came and sat right beside me, and he went, "Do you like music? You look like a Jimi Hendrix man." And I was just like, yeah, I quite enjoy music, but folk is my thing right now. And he went, "You need to listen to Fairport Convention. Who knows where the time goes?" Like that, like just fully in my face, slowly telling me what I needed to listen to. I was like, okay, man. And he walked off. That was it. That was the conversation. Do you like music? Listen to this song. And you know, I gotta give it to him. Bro was so right. Such a good song. I've had it on repeat since I met him. And I've never seen him again. That man is just like a strange, mythic creature. Oh my god, I hope you can't hear my dogs barking like mental. But yeah, such an odd social interaction that will stick with me, and every time I hear that song, until I'm his age, I'm gonna remember that interaction and think, did that man exist? So yeah, there you go. That's my month. Hope you have a good month ahead. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Basically, that's me. See you next week. Bye.